It looks like we got somebody on from Kandahar, so do we want to go ahead and take that call?
Oh, wow.
Let's take...
Busby in Kandahar, Afghanistan. How are you?
Oh, good afternoon. Good to speak with you. I'm calling in today because I work as a diplomatic security agent here, and I've had a lot of years' experience in and out of uniform. And I've noticed that working in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, there's a whole generation of young people that I think it's opening their eyes. I'm seeing people more aggressively moving towards secularism over here.
And why do you think that is?
I think seeing firsthand, how a fundamentalist Islamic Republic works gives them the notion of, okay, this is why a Christian Republic of America might be a bad idea.
Yeah.
They get to see firsthand what happens when you muck religion into government in every tier of society. Unfortunately, you do have a large number of people, large contingent, that also just say, well, I can see that this is terrible, and obviously Christians are good and Islam is bad. They don't see that they're cousins less than opposites.
And it makes me wonder, because, I've heard statistics, and I'm not going to be able to cite sources right here, but I've heard that in Israel, roughly 50% of Jews in Israel are actually secular. And I wonder if living up in that sort of environment where there's lots of hostilities and you see this incredibly strong entanglement between religion and government and what it actually produces and what kind of world you actually live in, I wonder if that actually contributed to the increasing secularization of Israelis.
Well, I've observed that, we had veterans from the previous wars of the century, World War I, World War II, that became kind of disaffected, in sometimes expatriates, and I think it drove, just the whole general horror of war drove some people to secularism and shook their faith. But I think this war, Iraq and Afghanistan have more so, especially Afghanistan, just because of the religious subtext has been very blatant.
Yeah, and when I was in Saudi Arabia many years ago, I think that was a little bit different because in a lot of ways we were kind of shielded from some of the more extreme elements of that particular theocracy. But I think that it's not possible to shield people as thoroughly in Afghanistan, in part because it's easier to get news over there now. There was a lot of stuff that went on, in the first Gulf War that we didn't see until we got back. And, we had friends and relatives who had been recording, CNN and all kinds of news broadcasts for us for months. And so things got filled in for us after the fact. And even then, a lot of the atrocities that went on over there we didn't see. But I think that, it's not possible to not see those things now in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I remember.
Very interesting.
I was just going to say, I remember. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, from my experience here, I've seen it's not just the religion over here. It's kind of a lethal cocktail of religion combined with illiteracy. I make the joke, it's like the West Virginia of Islam, which, I don't mean to offend people from West Virginia.
Oh, go ahead. They can't write any protest letters.
These folks will believe, the imam is the only literate person in the, village. Yeah. They'll believe whatever he says the Quran says, and he can just make it up as he goes.
It has a shocking parallel to the Catholic Church when most of the congregants were illiterate, and it was only the priests who would read the Bible and they'd read it to you. And so it expands that position of authority and keeps people in the dark, which is how we ended up with the Dark Ages, which I would say, if it weren't for the fact that area, that region, is, surrounded by and, peopled with individuals who are familiar with Enlightenment principles and a modernized Western culture outside there, we would probably just look at this and be saying, oh, this is the Dark Ages of Islam.
Well, I wanted to open the door to you guys. I've been coming here since 2001. And, just living here amongst these people that are predominantly illiterate and fundamentalist in their religion, if you had any curiosities, about the things that you see on the news, myth versus legend, versus truth of, how these people conduct themselves.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I think the stories on the news have not exaggerated the situation there. If anything, they've probably underplayed a lot of things.
Well, I appreciate you calling to give us the information. Hopefully, we'll see more out of this as people return with perhaps a different mindset to kind of change the nature of things over here, so that we can change the nature of things over there.
Precisely. I hope it's making a good impression, a positive impact on this young generation that's getting to see this firsthand, and they come home seeing the fault in it.
Well, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much, Busby.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too.